Story 1. I'd work as a warehouse laborer for a small local business. This job wasn't a career move for me. I had bounced around different jobs for a while. My tasks were straightforward. Unload pallets of incoming shipments and place items in their designated spots in the warehouse. Simple as that. Most nights, I'd just pop in my earbuds, letting the music flow as I worked. Our warehouse isn't particularly large, so it's rare to have another person working the night shift with me, only during the busy holiday season. But tonight was an ordinary night. I arrived, took stock of the inventory, then slipped on my headphones and began the routine of unloading boxes from the new shipments. I started my shift at 10:00 p.m. Around midnight, or maybe closer to 1:00 a.m., a knock echoed through the warehouse. I pulled out my headphones and listened intently, but the sound was gone. The building, being old, often creaked and groaned during the night, especially when the wind picked up. Still, this knock had sounded distinct, like someone was actually at the door. Curious and a bit uneasy, I walked to the back of the building, scanning the area, then made my way to the front. Inside, everything seemed normal. I opened the front door and peered outside. The parking lot was empty, and the night was still and silent. Shaking off the feeling, I locked the door and returned to my tasks, convinced it was just my imagination playing tricks. But to be on the safe side, I left my headphones out for a while, staying alert to any unusual sounds. About 20 minutes passed before I heard another noise. This time, it wasn't a knock, but a single, distinct thump from the front of the warehouse. I quickly made my way down the hallway to the front area. Nothing seemed out of place, and there were no signs of anyone or anything unusual. Despite the silence, I knew I hadn't imagined it, and a nervous feeling started to creep in. I stood still in the middle of the room, my eyes scanning every corner, my ears straining for any hint of another sound. As I stood there, an uneasy sensation settled in my gut, a sense that something was off. I walked up to the front door and leaned against it to peer out at the parking lot again. To my surprise, the door swung open effortlessly, and I stumbled forward. It was as if the door hadn't been locked or even latched, though I had checked and locked it less than 30 minutes ago. I glanced down and saw the latch lying broken on the ground. My stomach tightened, and a rush of adrenaline surged through me. Suddenly, I heard faint footsteps echoing from the dim hallway behind me. I quickly dashed out the door and into the parking lot, feeling dazed and uncertain. Once I was a safe distance away, I turned back. Through the glass door, I saw a figure on the other side. They paused, seemingly watching me, then moved away. My heart raced as I called the police and waited in the parking lot, keeping a vigilant eye on the building. When the police arrived, they discovered that the intruder had exited through the back door. Despite their efforts, they couldn't uncover any clues to solve the case. A few items were missing, but it was nothing significant, likely just an error in the stock count. Regardless of whether anything was stolen, the intruder must have used a tool or weapon to break the latch, which made the situation even more frightening. He had cleverly positioned the door to appear closed, likely to delay my discovery. If I hadn't noticed the broken latch, I might have come face to face with him, and there's no telling how that encounter would have ended. The thought that he might have been targeting me, though unlikely, was something I couldn't shake off. The fear lingered, so I decided to leave that job and move on, hoping I never cross paths with that person again. Story 2. I'd work as a receptionist at a well-known hotel chain in the US, handling the overnight shift. For nearly a year, my hours have been from 11:00 p.m. to 7:00 a.m. tonight. It was pouring rain, so I wasn't expecting any walk-ins, and there were no new bookings scheduled. On nights like this, my main tasks are to stay awake, answer phone calls, and assist current guests with room service or checkouts. To help me stay alert, I kept a cup of coffee from the lobby's coffee machine at my side. Despite my experience with night shifts, fatigue still crept in, and the rain only made it worse. Just as I was fighting off sleep at around 1:00 a.m., the phone rang. I answered the phone, and before I could speak, a man quickly asked if we were still accepting walk-ins. His voice was muffled, and there was a loud noise in the background. "Yes, we have rooms available for walk-ins tonight," I replied. He responded, but his words were unclear. As I asked him to repeat himself, I glanced up from the desk and noticed a small light outside. It was from a phone held up to someone's ear, standing right against the front window in the pouring rain. Realizing it had to be the man I was talking to, I felt a sudden unease and decided to pretend I didn't see him. A moment later, he ended the call. I watched the light outside turn off and saw the outline of the man moving toward the entrance. The doors opened, and the man walked into the lobby, leaving a trail of water on the floor. He approached the counter, drenched from head to toe, with water dripping from his hair. Despite his soaked appearance, his face revealed nothing but exhaustion. I don't think I'd ever seen anyone look so sleep-deprived. He bluntly asked for a room. I said okay, found him a room, and then asked how he wanted to pay. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a debit card, handing it to me. I swiped it, but the transaction was declined. When I looked up, I saw him staring directly at me, his eyes filled with a weary intensity. It didn't go through. "Do you have another card to try?" I asked. The man didn't respond. He just stared at me, blinking occasionally. As the seconds ticked by with no reaction from him, my unease grew. I glanced down and placed the card on the desk, sliding it back to him. He didn't even look at it. Instead, he turned and started walking toward the hallway with the rooms. Something was definitely off. I quickly pressed the button to call the police and then hurried to the hallway where the man had gone. I found him standing at the door to one of the rooms, just staring at it. He started pounding on the door, yelling harshly for someone to open it. I tried to tell him to stop, but I kept my distance, uncertain if he was dangerous. Then he pulled a small knife from his pocket and began trying to pry the door open. Panic surged through me, and I shouted that the police were on their way. The man paused, giving me a terrifying glare, then screamed at me to open the door for him. As he started walking toward me, fear took over. I bolted out of the hotel and into the parking lot. From outside, I could see through the window as he returned to the same door, continuing to pound on it relentlessly. The police arrived quickly, entering the hotel before the man could break into the room. They subdued him, confiscated the knife, and secured him in their patrol car. A young lady emerged from the room, visibly shaken and terrified. It turned out that the man was her ex, someone she hadn't seen or spoken to in over 10 years. No one knew how he found out where she was staying or even her room number. It was unclear how long he had been stalking her, which was deeply unsettling. But the thought of what might have happened if he had gotten inside was even more frightening. What do you think about these night shift horror stories? Have you ever experienced something terrifying during a late night shift? Share your thoughts and your own scary stories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling content. Until next time, stay safe and stay alert.